So, legal scholars have detailed how judicial philosophy has radically changed over the last century. Okay, so for example, here in the United States, the founding fathers were all proponents of what's called natural law and the natural law tradition. Okay, that's an important term to know, natural law. And very simply, the idea here is that human law is not invented. It's more discovered, because human law is supposed to reflect transcendent divine law as it's revealed in nature and human reason. And the assumption here is that the world around us is filled with divine meaning and purpose. There is a transcendent telos, nature and nature's God, a divinely ordained integrity to the world, that human reason not only can discern, but is actually obligated to discern in the ordering of human moral and legal structure. That's what governed jurisprudence for basically 2,500 years in the Western tradition. But in the 19th century, as knowledge was more and more redefined solely around scientific rationalism, natural law assumptions began to collapse. And that's because science had supposedly revealed that there is no divine meaning or purpose to the world. It's simply made up of biological, chemical, and physical causal laws. And so in the place of natural law, you saw the emergence of what is in fact its antithesis, and that's what we call legal positivism. Legal positivists argue that all legal norms are mere human fabrications. They don't reflect a transcendent obligation inherent in the created natural order, but are rather the invention of populations. So legal positivists assume a radical nature-culture dichotomy that would have been totally alien to our founding fathers. But that's the default legal position of the vast majority of our judiciary today. They are emphatically not an objective, independent branch of government. They are virtually all servants of legal positivism, and who in turn actually believe it's their job not to interpret the law, but to actually construct the law in accordance with their own modern understanding of the world. And so what we need to come to terms with here, and frankly, the scary thing to all of this, is that in natural law theory, there is a distinction between law and justice, in that while a society's laws can change, our standard for justice never does. That's because justice is a cosmic principle of eternal order and economy that serves to order and organize societies. The societies can change, but the standards by which they change do not. That means that there's a basis for citizens to contest unjust laws. A law is unjust when it's our moral duty to disobey it. But with positivist law, justice and law are consolidated, since there's no transcendent standard of justice in the created order, just cause and effect processes. And so what this means is that our very conceptions of justice are just as malleable, just as changeable as our laws. And since positivist law derives its legitimacy from the state, there is no basis for a citizen to contest the justice of the law beyond the decrees of the state. So what I would argue that positivist law is inherently tyrannical by nature. And that, my friends, is what we need to be keeping our eyes on. It's not so much whether Roberts is morally compromised or anything like that. Well, we'll of course see if that's the case. To me, it's more the fact that the legal system itself, of which Roberts is a practitioner and definer, the legal system itself has been radically liberalized and needs to return to the natural law tradition in order to restore a truly conservative legal standard in our society. Now, the good news is that's precisely what we are seeing today. We are seeing what's called the rise of post-secular law all over the place. But it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of patience to see post-secular law return to the natural law tradition at the highest levels of our courts. That is going to be our real goal here. Now, before